Alright, so next up we have the activated carriers. And here you can see the table from the book. So what do we mean when we say something is an activated carrier? Well, these are carrier molecules which actually carry something called a functional group. Now, the functional groups here are different depending on which carrier molecule they're associated with. And these functional groups are eventually transferred from one molecule to another during metabolic reactions. The big thing to remember here is which functional group each activated carrier is associated with. This can help you determine the outputs of each metabolic reaction. However, knowing the exact structure is not all that important. Now, the first activated carrier we're going to talk about is adenosine triphosphate, which carries 3 phosphoryl groups. So ATP here is the activated carrier, which is carrying the functional group of a phosphate. And it can use these high-energy phosphate bonds to phosphorylate proteins, which can activate or inhibit the function of the protein, or change how it interacts with other molecules. So the big thing to remember here is that ATP is the activated carrier, which carries the functional group of a phosphate. Now next up, we have NADH, as well as NADPH, as well as FADH2. Now these carrier molecules actually carry electrons. And these electrons can be traded in later down the line to help make ATP. And can you think of an example of this? There you go, in the electron transport chain. Now next up, we have coenzyme A, which you can see here, as well as lipomide, which is a lipoic acid conjugated to a protein via amide bond. This group then acts as a carrier for an acyl group, which you can see here. Now, did that sound kind of dense? Well, don't freak out. All you really need to know here for your test is 2 things. That CoA and lipomide carry acyl groups. And what exactly is an acyl group? There you go, it's a generic name that we give to an RCO group. And these can be found on esters, ketones, and amines, to name a few. And an important example here is acetyl-CoA, which is formed by pyruvate. The acetyl-CoA here acts as an acyl carrier which can enter the citric acid cycle for ATP production, or go on to be involved in fatty acid metabolism. And just to review, coenzyme A as well as liponamide are carrier molecules which carry acyl functional groups. Now next up, we have biotin, or vitamin B7, which carries carboxyl groups and acts as a cofactor for carboxylation enzymes. And next up, we have tetrahydrofolate. And do you remember what it's formed from again? There you go, folate, or vitamin B9. And tetrahydrofolate here is a carrier of a single carbon group, and therefore acts as a cofactor for single carbon transfer methylation reactions. Another important point to remember here is that tetrahydrofolate is important in the synthesis of nitrogenous bases, which can be seen in DNA and RNA. Now next up, we have S-adenosyl L-methionine, which is also known as SAM. Now this molecule carries a methyl group and is important in DNA synthesis as well as the conversion of norepinephrine to epinephrine. So last of all here, we have thiamine pyrophosphate. And this is the active form of thiamine, or vitamin B1. Now here, thiamine pyrophosphate acts as a cofactor for many of the dehydrogenase enzyme reactions. And it does this by carrying the aldehyde functional group. Well, alright, that's going to wrap up the activated carriers. See you in the next video.